With all the madness of the NCAA tournaments comes a whole lot of mad money on the line. Together, the men and women's tournaments are the largest sports betting event in the country. Get this, according to the American Gambling Association, bets are expected to exceed $2.7 billion on the men and women's tournaments this year. That's almost double the $1.5 billion spent last year on the games. For more on this betting boom and where the tournament stands, I'm now joined by Thomas Casale, college basketball analyst for Sportsline. Thomas, thank you for taking the time this morning. I got to ask you first, sir. I need to know the status of your bracket this morning because I hear you had Kentucky going far. And according to my last interview with Coach Campy, oops, busted.
Yeah, it's funny because I liked Oakland coming into the tournament, but I didn't like the matchup with Kentucky. I guess I was wrong there, but I had Kentucky going to the Final Four.
Yeah, well, a lot of people waking up in your same shoes this morning. As I just mentioned off the top, the huge increase in sports betting surrounding March Madness this year. Nearly double what was wagered last year. What's driving that?
Well, more states have legalized gambling, and it's just more people betting. You have to remember 90% of bettors bet $10 or less. So they're going to like big events like the Super Bowl and March Madness. People like me, I bet all the time, but that's not how your casual bettor is going to bet. So whenever there's something big like a World Cup or March Madness, they're going to want to get in there. And there's always perception and reality. The perception on betting is still like that dark room kind of thing. But the reality is most people have the phones, they have the apps, and they're just putting in fun $10 parlays and trying to hit at good odds. And that's where you're seeing the majority of the bets come in.
Yeah, they just want to take part in something, join in the fun with their friends. What are the biggest trends that you're noticing in this year's March Madness?
Well, the biggest trend over the last decade, especially since legalized betting came, is March Madness is the only major sporting event I know of where people like to bet underdogs. The March Madness was built on Cinderellas, on upsets. So they're actually betting the McNeese States. They're betting the Sanfords. They're betting the James Madisons because everybody wants to be on that upset and that big Cinderella. Ironically, one of the underdogs that wasn't being bet very much was Oakland.
I was going to ask, how many people put their money there?
Well, Kentucky is such a popular team. That was one of the underdogs that wasn't one of the popular picks. McNeese State was a popular pick against Gonzaga, and they got blown out. Sanford was a popular pick. They almost won. And tonight, James Madison is a popular pick. But that's the biggest trend you see is more of the casual public bettors betting underdogs in the March Madness.
Yeah, I know last night the Oakland Grizzlies, they were the 13-point underdog against Big Blue, and look how that turned out for them. Just curious, Thomas, your personal strategy when it comes to picking underdogs. How do you do it?
Well, it has to be a recipe for the team. Like Oakland is a veteran team that had played a tough schedule, that had a lot of good things about them. Some of these teams, but you got to remember, college basketball is a one-month sport. Most people don't watch it every night from November 9th like I do. So they're just getting into it, and they're going to listen to people on TV trying to pick the big upsets. So you're always looking for value when you have an underdog, and some of these underdogs just don't have value. For example, Gonzaga was like a 5.5-point favorite last night against McNeese State. 10 years ago, that line's 9 or 10. So that's my biggest recommendation when looking at these things is if you're going to bet an underdog, make sure they have value, like in Oakland, who had 13.5 points last night.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a bettor, but I love a good Cinderella story, a good Cinderella run. Lastly, Thomas, just for the men's and women's tournaments, who do you predict will be cutting down the nets this year?
I took North Carolina for the men, and I just don't see anybody beating South Carolina on the women's side. I say they finish undefeated.
Okay, we'll see if that rings true. Thomas Casale, thank you so much. A pleasure to have you on, and I hope the rest of your bracket goes untouched. Ouch.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.